In this lesson, we're going to talk about auditing your application controls. Now, as an auditor, we should conduct the following types of tasks: identifying the significant application components and learning the flow of information to the system. You should be able to identify the application control strengths, to be able to evaluate the impact of the control weaknesses, and to develop a testing strategy to verify the controls. You also want to be able to review the application system's documentation so that you have an understanding about the functionality of that application. As a part of the auditing process, the documentation that you should grab are things like the system development methodology documents, whatever functional design specifications that they've come up with, any program changes, the user manuals that obviously the end users would go by, and any technical reference documentation. Basically, what you're trying to do is establish in paper the way in which that program should work, how it was designed, how it was built, and what our expectations of that program are going to be. Because when we're in the process of auditing, it seems to make sense to me that we want to, when we start testing the application, we want to see if it conforms to what the paperwork, the documentation said this program is supposed to do. Now let's talk about some of the risk assessments, or at least the model of risk assessment that you might use to be able to analyze application controls. So as we're conducting the risk assessment on the controls, some of the things you want to look at is the quality of those internal controls. Any of the economic conditions, recent system changes or accounting system changes. How long has it been since the last time it was audited? How complex are the operations? We also want to know if there's been any changes in the way in which operations run or in the environment. Any recent changes in the key positions of personnel? What assets are at risk that we're trying to protect with these controls? Has there been a lot of staff turnover? How much volume of transactions does this have to deal with? Were there any regulatory agencies that would impact this particular type of controls? How sensitive are the transactions? And what is the impact if the application should fail? Some of the user procedures that we want to look at and watch and test are things like separation of duties, especially on applications that might be sensitive with financial information or any other type of sensitive information, maybe even if it's an application for privacy of patients or things like that. We want to know if there's one person that can do everything and potentially, if they went bad, could manipulate the system or do overrides. We want to know what kind of authorization is there for the information that's being input. What do they do as far as balancing? Do we have any type of error controlling correction? We should also look at how they do the distribution of reports. And then, of course, review and test the access authorization capabilities.